let's talk to Billy.
Sweet.
Pronouns he, him. Calling in. What?
Sweet chickens.
Yeah. Billy says he has some alternatives to evolution. Let's talk about it. Billy, you're on the line with Forrest and John. How are you doing today?
Not bad. Yourself?
I'm awesome, man.
Are you there?
So,
okay, cool.
Yes, I'm here. So you say you have alternatives to evolution. Are you calling as a creationist? Do you say that evolution isn't real? Like, give me some context and background to what you're saying here.
No, I believe that evolution is real. I just think the mechanism used to describe evolution is not possible, and I have an alternative for it, which is not my.
When you say
mechanism, are you talking about?
Yeah, what mechanism? Because there's several mechanisms to evolution. So, what mechanism are you talking about that you don't think is serious or real?
The driving force of evolution is random mutation, and I don't think that random mutation has. Or matter of fact, I think that it's been demonstrated that random mutation does not have what it takes to sequence novel functional code sequences. So,
but let's start there before we get into your alternatives. I'm just gonna throw something out here, just really quick. I'm gonna write some words. Hold on, just 1 second. Can you see your screen? Can you see me on the screen?
Let me see real quick. I can, but you guys might be not the same. You know, you guys might not be at the same time.
There's going to be a delay. There's going to be a delay. That's fine. Just make sure there isn't sound on the screen. I just wrote something down, and I am now going to move my camera to make sure I can see it here. I'm going to hold something up, and you can tell me here. Okay. So here I've written on this page, I've written a sentence. Can you see it? Give it a few seconds.
Yeah, there's a delay.
That's fine. Just wait for the delay. Just wait for the delay there. But you can see, okay, I've written a series of characters that convey a message. What does it say?
Okay. It says, let's eat grandma. And I've seen this before. Let's eat grandma. Let's eat grandma. Let's
exactly.
Let's
so
grandma.
here's a series of characters. Let's eat grandma. And here's a random mutation, just deleting one character. Let's eat grandma. And so this is an example how one change, a novel mutation, for example, this is now a completely new message. This means something completely different than the original message, right? So when we talk about it's impossible for random mutations to create new information, no, it fundamentally is not. Not only can we create whole new genes, but even if that wasn't the case, we can create totally new functionalities using information that's already there.
Yeah, and I was just going to give you a quick example of this. So hold on there, Billy. So there is an experiment that exists out there where we have changed just a minor gene in alligators, right? Or maybe it's not alligators, it's some kind of reptile. But basically the scales of the alligator, because of the gene that was changed, turned into these like very primitive feathers. Like the primitive feathers being like little needles that are poking out. And so like the scales changed to these little needles. And so like we have actual laboratory experiments where we've manipulated the genes and caused significant changes to an organism. So I don't understand where you're coming from on this.
That change was due to a destruction of information in that genome.
Can you describe? No, hold on. As far as the genome concerns, as far as the genome concerns, describe what destruction is, because like I don't understand in the context of like mutations and like the genome and everything like that. I don't understand what destruction means as far as what you're saying. I don't know, but Forrest has probably more information on this than I do. But as far as mutation goes, like I don't see destruction. I just see change. I don't know. Am I wrong there, Forrest?
No, I hear this a lot from creationists who will say that like, you know, it's only destruction of information. There's no creation of new information. And that ignores the fact that absolutely mutations can create information as well. De novo gene birth is a thing. Duplication events are a thing. Creating new information is absolutely a thing. It's a cop out. But Billy, we've been talking for a long time, so I would love to hear what you have to say about all this.
Generally, genetic mutations cause dysfunction. It causes a prohibition of expressing genes, and generally
That's
those code sequences are rendered, incapacitated. So, I mean,
that's not true.
And it's true. Well, yeah, no, that's definitely true.
Most mutations are silent. Most mutations have no observable effect.
Or deleterious. Matter of fact, there's far more deleterious mutations than there are beneficial mutations, and I would argue that there's never been a quote unquote beneficial
let's just
mutation which causes
Billy.
Yes, there has. Yes, there has.
Go ahead.
So, you said there's never been a beneficial mutation. We absolutely have observed beneficial mutations in several different instances, both in the laboratory and in the field.
Right. And I was going to add that the ones that are going to allow the organism to survive better in the environment that they're in are going to be the beneficial ones. So like, even if deleterious mutations were more prevalent, the only success that we would see are with the good mutations. So it's kind of like we would see the good mutations and we would fail to see the bad mutations as far as like a persistent change throughout the organism. The deleterious ones are not going to allow the organism to survive for generations. Right. It's only the good ones that are going to allow it to survive.
I also want to point out, like, so two things that are important here. Number one, we need to talk about beneficial mutations because I heard you asking for some examples and we will get there. But also what I said earlier is that most mutations are silent and you added on or deleterious. That's a problem of thinking. Most mutations are silent, period. More than 50% of mutations are not going to do anything at all, are going to have no immediate observable effect. So therefore, for you to add on or deleterious, that is correct. As would it be correct if I said most mutations are silent or beneficial? If most of them are silent already, then it doesn't matter what else you add in. So like that's a silly way of thinking right off the bat. I just want to point that out.
I believe that you're wrong.
Also,
I believe that you're wrong, dude. I believe that you're wrong.
Take it up with
there are more deleterious mutations than there are neutral mutations.
Really quick.
Oh my God. Yeah. I feel like you're not even listening to us.
I just Googled are most mutations silent, and I got this. Around 99.8% of genes that undergo mutations are deemed silent because the nucleotide change does not change the amino acid being translated. That's what we call a silent mutation or a synonymous mutation. So literally Googled it and came up with this massive number that was higher than even what I expected from my undergrad genetics training. But that's not the point. The point is that even if that wasn't the case, what John said still stands to reason. Even if the vast majority of mutations were deleterious, that wouldn't change anything. That would still cause evolution to happen if there is still a differential success of reproduction or survival based on those mutation rates. Most importantly, you asked me for some examples of beneficial mutations. I'll give you 3. Number 1 is lactose tolerance in humans. That is an observed mutation, a single nucleotide change, a point mutation that is beneficial because it changes.
No, it's not.
What?
That's not beneficial.
It's not beneficial for humans to be able to drink milk?
Dude, we make sugar in all kinds of different ways. We don't have to drink milk. And as a matter of fact, it's not.
Billy, you are missing a fundamental part. You are missing a fundamental piece of understanding here, which is that deleterious and beneficial, you don't even know. Okay, explain what I was about to say. Because you said, no, I'm not missing it before I even finished my sentence. So how am I wrong about what I was about to say to you, Billy?
I just Googled, are more mutations deleterious? And it just said yes. Most mutations are harmful. The effect of mutation
Did you
depends
read
on the
the AI?
location and
Did you
context.
read the AI overview or an actual source?
And it even says we often expect deleterious mutation negative.
Did you read the AI overview or a source?
Mutation. I'm reading both.
Did you?
I'm reading both.
Okay, don't read the AI overview because it's bullshit and it's been proven to be wrong several times. Doesn't matter. Because as I said a second ago, whether you're right or my actual training in this field is right, evolution would still progress. This doesn't actually change anything. You're getting hung up on the wrong thing. Now, a minute ago, I said you had a fundamental misunderstanding about something, and before I finished the sentence, you interrupted me and said, no, I don't. So please explain to me how you understand the thing that you didn't get to hear me explain that you misunderstood.
I don't understand your question.
A minute ago, I'll just repeat it. A minute ago, I said you have a fundamental misunderstanding about this whole thing. And I was trying to explain to you something very important that you're not understanding, which is why you interrupted me about the milk thing. And you cut me off and said, no, I don't. So please explain how I'm wrong about the thing that you didn't even get to hear me say.
I mean, I wasn't talking about what you were about to say.
Oh, you were just saying whatever random bullshit? Cool. So then I will now continue what I was saying and see if you can actually get through it without rudely interrupting me again. You have a fundamental misunderstanding when we're talking about milk and having lactase persistence being a beneficial mutation. And you said we can make sugar in all sorts of ways. We don't need milk. You have a fundamental misunderstanding of what the words deleterious and beneficial mean, which is that you are considering these to be absolute terms rather than relative terms. If you gain fitness in one environment, you necessarily lose fitness in another environment. Any beneficial mutation is necessarily deleterious in another environment. So when we talk about milk and you say, well, we can make sugar all sorts of other ways, that doesn't matter because we're talking about pastoral societies of early humans who were pastoral and raised goats and sheep and cows and things and relied on milk and cheese as a source of nutrition over times of hardship when they wouldn't have otherwise had access to nutrition. Having lactase persistence was a major positive mutation for them. It was a beneficial mutation, a major fitness advantage for them. That's why it is so persistent across Eurasian populations, especially West Europe and a little bit into West Asia. So that is a very beneficial mutation that spread rapidly, changing the allele frequencies of those populations, which is the definition of evolution, by the way. Whether or not we can today synthesize sugar in other ways and get sugar in other ways is completely irrelevant to what that mutation is or whether or not it was beneficial at the time. Now, that was only the first beneficial mutation I was going to tell you about. I have some other ones ready to go because you asked me for examples. I have some in the lab and in the field. Which would you like to have first?
First, I'd like to discuss that one. Do you know why? That mutation causes us to tolerate lactose? Do you know why that happens?
Yes, because it causes us to continue to produce the enzyme lactase well after our second birthday. That's why it's also called lactase persistence. Yeah,
and there's a gene that cuts that off, that stops that, and that gene was mutated and no longer functions. So it's a dysfunction of the code that causes that to happen. So that mutation
doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Matter.
It is still a random mutation. There's nothing in the definition of the word mutation that says it has to create a brand new gene. Mutation is any change. Yes, but that's what you're implying. Any change to the genome sequence, any change to the DNA sequence is a mutation. And so this is a mutation that does silence a gene that still makes it a beneficial mutation.
With all due respect, you don't get to decide what I'm implying. I was not implying that. I was not implying that.
Then why'd you bring it up? That this is turning off a gene as if it dismisses the fact that it is a mutation and it is beneficial?
The beneficial part is questionable, but what I'm talking about is it created a dysfunction in the genome. It actually literally caused a dysfunction in the genome. like it's the same thing with sickle cell anemia. That's actually that allows people to resist malaria, or I think it's malaria. I forget if it's malaria or not.
It is malaria
it's
only if they have. It is malaria, but only if they are heterozygous.
Right.
If they are homozygous recessive, then they have sickle cell, which is further evidence to what I was saying, that the terms beneficial and deleterious are contextual.
What if malaria didn't exist? Would that still be beneficial?
There would be no reason for that. So then, yes, that would be heterozygotes wouldn't notice it. Homozygote dominant wouldn't notice it. And only homozygous recessive would notice it. And then it would be exactly as deleterious as it is today. So it would be a nothing mutation or a deleterious one, as opposed to today where it's either nothing, deleterious, or beneficial contextually.
You're right. So if malaria didn't exist, then it wouldn't, we wouldn't even notice it. It wouldn't be beneficial at all.
Yes, and if lactose didn't exist, then the gene mutation that causes lactase persistence wouldn't matter either. That's what I keep saying. These terms are contextual.
Yeah, but essentially it's a dysfunction of the genome of that sequence of the genome that's causing that effect to take place, right?
No, in that particular case, it is rendering one gene as not shutting off lactose production or lactase production anymore. But to call it a dysfunction is to prescribe an idea to it that it was once perfect and is now a problem. If you have a gene through totally natural processes, if you have a gene that is hurting you and then that gene is rendered dysfunctional, then that is a benefit.
Well, I mean, but it's still what I'm talking about in regards to benefit is the sequencing of novel functional code sequence. The creation of novel functional code sequences. That's
what I said a minute ago when you said that I don't have the right to decide what you're meaning and what you're implying. Thank you for now saying the thing that I was saying you were implying a minute ago.
That's not what
mutation doesn't necessarily need to be something creating novel functionality or anything like that. That's not what the word mutation means. Beneficial or deleterious doesn't hinge on that.
Dude, I know that. That's what I said, dude. You're saying the exact same thing I said. Mutations cannot create novel code sequences. That doesn't happen.
But they can.
That's what
we're fucking telling you. Jesus fucking Christ.
Also,
I'm so fucking tired of this.
We haven't even gotten to the other things. I was going to give you two other examples just of a beneficial mutation. Like, you're talking about novel functionality. A deleterious mutation could also imply novel functionality that hinders reproduction or survival. Like, fuck, dude.
I said novel code sequences. Look, you're starting to get pissed off.
Huntington's disease. Huntington's disease would be a novel code sequence that is deleterious.
Look, I don't want you to be pissed off anymore. I'd like to have a chill conversation.
I'm not pissed off. I'm annoyed because you keep just saying random shit as if it matters and then ignoring when we demonstrate that what you're saying doesn't make any sense. Huntington's disease is caused by novel gene sequences that are deleterious. That is a mutation that is based on new genes being added, new nucleotide sequences being added, so new novel information being added, and it is deleterious.
How are those sequences added?
Huntington's disease is caused by a certain repetition in one particular gene. I don't remember which one it is off the top of my head, but there's one particular gene where you have this long repetition of the same gene sequence over or codon over and over and over. And if you have exactly like X amount of them, the gene functions properly. But if you have any more of them, you have Huntington's disease and you have this serious neurodegenerative disorder. And so what happens is when this gene sequence is being copied, it sometimes gets copied too much. It has a duplication mutation. That is a type of mutation. And it has way too many of these sequences that is adding on novel gene sequence, and it is deleterious.
That's not novel. That's repeating the same sequence over and over again. That's not new information.
Oh my fuck, dude! It's new information because if I write the words, "Let's eat grandma" twice, that's twice as many sentences. That is new information.
No, it's not. It's the same information twice. It's not new shit.
That is
dude. Come on, man.
You have okay. How many letters? How many letters are in your genome?
Like 3 billion?
No. How many characters? Pardon me. How many characters? It is
4.
30 billion. Yes.
There's 4.
So your entire 3, I think it is 30. It might be 3. It's a bunch. It's billions. It may be. Maybe I'm missing a 0. Who cares? It doesn't matter. The billions of characters within your genome are made of those 4 letters, right? Many of them. In fact, every gene is going to have the same start and stop codons as well. Does that mean that it's all the same information because it's the same nucleotide sequences, it's the same characters, it's the same codons producing the same amino acids? Just because one thing is repeated doesn't mean it isn't new information. That's ridiculous to say.
Can I just read?
If that wasn't the case, then duplication mutations wouldn't be considered mutations.
I mean, I'm talking about
Billy. Right, Billy. I'm just going to read from the Talk Origins website. It's a fabulous resource if you want to go there, and they have like all of them.
I don't want to go.
Oh, you don't. So let me get this straight. You called into this show and you don't want to hear the information that we have to tell you that shows that you're the Christian thing. Is that correct?
Is that some Christian thing or what? If it's a Christian thing, I don't want to hear it. If it's a science thing, then yeah, I do want to hear it.
Origins is a science website.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was confused. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Maybe you should let us fucking finish when we're talking. I mean, so I'm reading it from
don't reprimand me, dude. Don't reprimand me. Just get on with the conversation.
Okay, well, I'm muting you now, so enjoy being on mute here. So, there's a claim, CB 101. They're organized and everything. Most mutations are harmful, so the overall effect of mutations is harmful. Is the full claim. It's going to apply to directly the bullshit that you're spouting here. So, in the response section, it has most mutations are neutral. Nachman and Crowell estimate that around 3 deleterious mutations out of 175 per generation in humans. That's from 2000. Of those, they have a significant effect. Of those that have a significant effect, most are harmful, but a fraction of which are beneficial and is higher than usually. An experiment with E. coli found that about 1 in 150 newly arising mutations and 1 in 10 functional mutations are beneficial. And then there are some actual laboratory results that you can look up. So there's mutations that have given by bacteria the ability to degrade nylon. That was discovered in 95. Plant breeders have used mutation breeding to induce mutations and select for beneficial ones. That was in 77. Certain mutations in humans confer resistance to AIDS. That was in 96 and 2001, or heart disease. That was in 94 and 83. A mutation in humans makes bones strong. That was in 2002. Transposons are common, especially in plants, and help provide beneficial diversity. That was in 2000. So I could go through all these things and read directly off the website how fucking wrong you are about mutations. But please fucking continue to tell us. Oh, well, he dropped, I guess. I don't know.
I was about to read. I've got this paper right here called The Origins of New Genes and Pseudogenes, published back in 2008. And this is just a lit review, a thorough paper explaining where new genes come from. The new gene origination is a driving force of evolutionary innovation in all organisms. Research has focused on identifying the mechanisms that generate new genes, and it goes on to describe some of them. I was going to talk about the lizards off of the coast of Croatia. There are 2 islands one of which has some lizards on it that were insectivores, and some researchers took some of these lizards and moved them over to another island that didn't have a big insect population and came back after 40 years, and that same population of lizards had developed a totally new cecum, like a totally new part of their gut, and a big wide jaw for chewing on plants. They were becoming herbivorous because they didn't have as many insects to eat, and they were eating leaves, and had a totally new gut morphology and a totally new skull morphology in order to chew and digest plant matter. I was going to talk about a few other things as well. The Linsky long-term evolution experiment with E. coli bacteria constantly evolving to digest new sources of nutrition, kind of like humans being able to digest milk. Like, there's a million and one examples of mutations happening that are beneficial, that are deleterious, that are silent, that create new information, that destroy old information. Like, it's not fucking hard to find this information, but to sit here and say copying a gene isn't creating new information because it's just the same information twice is like so fucking lazy. It's oh my glob, dude. You're gonna have to grapple with real science if you want to have a conversation about real science. You can't just decide what does and doesn't count in your special little world as new information. It's just, oh my glob, it's such lazy thinking.
Hey there, everyone. We want you to check out our live shows. 6 days a week, 6 shows a week, 5 days a week, 6 shows. And also there are other channels coming. And this part is meaningless, but you could support this channel by watching the live shows, by checking out another episode. Tell the algorithm you want to stay here. You're not going to go off to some video of some super rich guy committing war crimes. You're going to stick around here and maybe you'll leave a comment, or what else could they do, Eve?
They could head over to patreon.com/calltheline, right? Am I looking?
That's another thing. And they could
like, yeah.
And they could subscribe. No, you got it right. I got it wrong the first time.
And they could also comment. Yeah.